Hey guys, it's Mr. H again. This is the third video in the series of nSolve, in the nSolve series. And basically what I want to do is I'm starting to show you the exceptions, the things that you need to do, and you can still use nSolve. So let me jump into this. So what you see on my iPad is we have an equation here. And it says solution. So it's got some of the keywords, it's got solved. But the problem is this one has two variables. It has an X and it has an A. So you're thinking like, wow, I wish I could use nSolve. Well, what do you need to do? Then you need to get rid of one of the variables. Now, since we're trying to solve for X, we're going to keep the X and we're going to plug a number in for A. Now, one of the things you should also notice is that if you look at the answer choices, each answer choice has an A in it. So that's another reason why we know that we can store a number for A. Now, I'm going to store the number 5 into A. So let me back out and I'm going to store 5 into A. So let me do that. So I'm going to do 5, control store, and I'm going to put that into A and I'm going to press enter. Now, once I've done that, I can nSolve this equation because now the A is gone. It's not a variable anymore. And I'm going to show you that. So watch. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to do menu 31. And then I'm going to type in the equation. So this is going to be control divide. So stack fraction is going to be X minus 1, X minus 1 over 2. And then it's going to be minus A over 4. So I'm going to keep the A over 4. And then I'm going to do the equal sign. And then I'm going to do a stack fraction. And this is going to be 3A over 4. Okay. Now, if you notice, the A's are bolded. And they're bolded because we put a number in there. So now that we put a number in there, we substitute it in a number, it's no longer a variable. So I'm going to put comma, and then I'm going to put X because we're solving for X. And notice the X is not bolded. And now when I press enter, it tells me that the answer is 11. So if we go back to the answer choices, we're just going to plug in, we're just going to type these in, and we're going to look for the one that gives us 11, and that's going to be the answer. So I'm just going to do the first one, control divide. This is 3A over 2 plus 1. That's not it. And then I'm going to do A plus 1. I know that's not it. That's going to be 6. That's not it. And then I can do control divide. I can do 4A plus 1 over 2. And that's not it. And then if I do 2A plus 1, I got it. That's my answer. So the answer for this one would be a number 11. So even though there's more than one variable, you can still use nSolve. In this case, because we have the variables in every one of the answer choices, that's why I'm able to just store any number that I choose. Now, so just remember, even if it has more than one variable, you store a number, you get rid of the variable. Now, I'm going to show you another example. This one, you got to be a little bit more careful. Where is it? Or where am I? Okay, right here. All right, so now, if you look at number 5, it says the point K, comma, a negative 5 lies on the line whose equation is 3x plus y equals 7, then the value of K is. So basically what they're saying is this is the X coordinate, this is the Y coordinate, and basically they've given us this equation for a line, and they want to know what's the X coordinate going to be, right? So all we're going to do is, again, this is an equation, but it has two variables, so we've got to get rid of one. Well, which one can we get rid of? Well, we can get rid of the Y because they gave us a Y coordinate. So I'm going to go here and let me get rid of all this stuff. I'm going to do menu 14, and then I'm going to do menu 15, clear it. Let me make this bigger. So what I'm going to do first thing is I'm going to store the y coordinate that they gave us. I'm going to store that into y. Boom, done. Now, now I can nSolve this. So I'm going to do menu 31, and then I'm going to do 3x plus y equals 7, comma, x. Notice the y is bolded, and it should be. We're solving for x, and it tells us that the x coordinate should be 4. So if I go back to my iPad, you can see that the answer is 4. Boom. So you can use nSolve on this. You just have to get rid of one of the variables again. If there's 2 variables, you get rid of one. And in this case, they didn't give us any variables in the answer choices, but they did tell us that the y coordinate was a -5. So we're going to use that information. That's why we use that information. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then I'm going to post this. Now, these questions show up a lot. Sometimes they show up in the constructor response, but a lot of times they show up in the multiple choice. If they show up in the multiple choice, you can nSolve to find the answer for this. So here's what I'm going to say. So here we go. We got this equation. It's Q equals M times C times the quantity TF minus TI. Now, they want us to get TF by itself and figure out which one of these would be would be how you would get TF by itself. Now, the best thing to do for this is, since we got a bunch of variables, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means we need to get rid of 4 of them. So we're going to get rid of 4, and then we're going to nSolve for 1 of them, and then we're going to store that number. So watch what I do. I'm going to do 2 examples like this. So the very first thing I'm going to do is, for each of the variables on the right-hand side, I'm going to store a number. So this is going to be 2. This is going to be 3. The TF is going to be 4, and the TI is going to be 5. Okay, and then I'm going to nSolve for Q. So let's do that. So let me get rid of all this stuff. Menu 14, delete all the variables. Menu 15, clear the screen. And then let me start storing these guys. So first thing is going to be 2 stored into M. And then it's going to be 3 control store into C. And then it's going to be 4. And we're going to store that into TF. So watch what I do. I'm going to do T, and then I'm going to do F. So when you put 2 variables together, you make a new variable. So I made that TF, and then I'm going to take 5, and I'm going to store that into TI. So T, where's my I? Right here. So now I've got all of these variables stored. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the equation, and I'm going to nSolve for Q. So I'm going to do menu 31, and then I'm going to do Q equals, and then I got M. Now I have to put a multiplication sign in between these. Otherwise, the calculator thinks that I am creating a new variable, and that's not what I'm trying to do. And then I'm going to do times, this is TF, so TF minus TI. Oops, let me go back. That's not right. Having a tough time seeing these little letters. TI. And then I'm going to solve for Q. So that's the only variable, if you look at it, that's not bolded. So I'm going to do comma and then Q, which is right here. And then I press enter. Now, so when I enter all of these letters, these numbers in for these letters, and then I nSolve for Q, I get a -6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store a -6 into Q. And now well, let me get rid of this because I need to put in a -6 into Q. And now that's done. Now, so what I've basically done is I've made this inequality or this equation into a true statement. So basically I've made this true. Now, so whenever I key in each one of these equations, only one of them should give me a true statement, and that's going to be the one that we want. So I'm just going to go back. Let me get menu 15, get rid of all of this stuff. And then I'm just going to key in each one of these equations, and I'm going to keep going until they get true. So the first one is TF. So let's go TF equals, and we got control divide. This is going to be Q over M times C. So I do M times C. And then notice I put the multiplication symbol in there, minus TI. So I'm going to go TI. And then I press enter. Now I got a false. So when I put this equation in with all those numbers, it said this is not a false, this is not a true statement. So this is not the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to change the minus to a plus. And that's the second choice. So delete this and put a plus in, and then I press enter. Now I got a true. So if I go back to my iPad, you can see that that would be answer choice number 2. This one is correct. This one is not correct. Now, what I want to do is I'm just going to look at one more. So let's look at this one here. It says TF equals this. So I'm going to do TF equals, and then I'm going to make a stack fraction. So this is going to be TI on the top. So I got TI plus Q. And then I divide it by M times C. So M times C. And then I press enter. And I get false, which is what I expect. And if I keyed in the last one, I would also get false. So the answer for this one is 2. Now I'm going to do one more example, and then I'm going to shut this down. Now this one came from the benchmark, and a lot of the students missed this one, so I wanted to go over this. So again, we've got 3 letters here. We've got L, we've got W, and then we've got P. So we're going to store for L and W, and then we're going to nSolve for P, and then we're going to store that number into P. So same thing as we did before. We're going to let L equal 2, W equal 3, and then we're going to solve for P. So let me do this. So we're going to go menu 14, get rid of everything that we had, and then we're going to do menu 15, clear the screen. Let me bring this up so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm going to store 2, and I'm going to put that into L. Press enter, and then I'm going to take 3, and I'm going to store that into W. Right there, press enter. And then I'm going to use these 2 numbers, and I'm going to solve for P. So I'm going to do menu 31. And it's going to be P equals, so P equals 2L plus 2W, comma, and I'm solving for P. Now, I notice the L and the W are both bolded because I put numbers in there, so they're not considered variables anymore. nSolve it, so that's the answer. So P is equal to 10, so I'm just going to store 10 into P. And now what I've done is I've made that original equation true. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of the answer choices, and I'm just going to key them in and see if I get a true or false. So the first one, let me make this bigger so you can see it better. So the first one is L equals 1/2 P minus W. So this is going to be L equals 1/2 P minus W, not minus X, minus W. And then it says true. So the first one is true. So I'm just going to show you, I checked that one. So the first one is true. Now I'm going to check the second one and the third one. So second one is L equals, let's say L equals 1/2, control divide, 1/2. And then this is going to be parentheses, P minus 2W. So P minus 2W, close the parentheses, press enter. I got another true. So I can check the second one. And then I'm going to check the third one. L equals, again, L equals control divide. We got a stack fraction. It's going to be P minus 2W on the top, P minus 2W on the top, and then on the bottom we have 2. And then we press this, we also get true. So all three of those are true. And what does that mean? That means that our answer choice is 4. So again, let me go back through this. If there's a multiple choice question that gives you a bunch of variables, and then it is asking you to rearrange the variables to get a different one by itself, you can store numbers for the variables and then nSolve for the remaining variable and basically make that a true statement. And then just go find, when you key in each answer choice, the one that gives you true is the one you want. So in this case, I stored 2 into L, 3 into W. I nSolved and I got 10 for this one. So I stored this in, I stored 10 into P, and then I just went through and I looked for which one of these equations would give me a true. And they all gave me trues. So that's why I chose answer 4. All right, I'm gonna shut this down and hopefully this has been helpful.